The city council meeting for March 12th, the regular meeting. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Armstrong,
Here.
Councilmember Rubio. Here. Councilmember Veros,
Here.
Vice Mayor Perkins,
Here.
Mayor Hudson.
Here.
Thank you.
Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. What's our first item of the night?
Item 3, announcements. 3.1, changes and additions to the agenda. We have none this evening. Item 3.2, if you'd like to speak under public comment or regarding an agenda item, please fill out a speaker card located in the back of the room and submit it to the city clerk. Item 4, public comment.
Okay, let's open up public comment. Do we have any speaker cards?
I do have one speaker card for this item.
Okay,
Vasant.
please come up. Take up to 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Vasant Vishwakarma. I'm for the Bridges community. We are representing about 44 houses. This is on Lawson Crest Drive and Lawson Crest Court. The issue at hand is public safety in terms of burglaries that is happening more rampant, house break-ins, car break-ins, and car thefts. For the last couple of months, this has escalated to a certain extent, but we're also seeing some suspicious individuals, not from the community, walking at about 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. in the morning. We believe there is two hotbeds are there. One is a park, the Coyote Crossing Park, and the other one is a golf course. We have some video footages that we have picked up from neighbors, and we have also sent this on 911 calls, send these to the cops as well. We really urge, how can we help you help us? I think it's a safety concern. People are worried to leave their houses, especially with kids at home in situations like that. And we want to understand, when a call is made to the cops, what's the response time? When a call is made, when actually they collect evidence, what happens? We don't know what has happened to all the incidences that has happened so far, including the break-ins. We have also seen situations where license plates are picked up, removed, and they are taken. So when we also give license plate numbers of suspicious cars, we don't know what happens next. So we really urge this topic to be actually taken up in the next session or whenever, so that we can understand collectively, how can we first stop this? And more importantly, how do we actually deter this? Our worry is we don't want to be sitting ducks here. The last thing is, we don't want to have any potential bad thing happening beyond what we have just happened so far. That's essentially what the point is here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. By the way, the chief of police is standing in the back and you might want to go step around the corner and talk with him
Because
directly.
we can't discuss anything that's brought up that isn't on the agenda.
Yeah.
Next speaker, please.
That was the only card that I had,
Okay, do we have any written?
not for this item.
Okay, then we'll close public comment. Next item, please.
Item 5, consent calendar.
Is there anyone wishing to pull an item from the consent calendar? Okay, here the race is on.
I will move.
We have a motion and a second from
Second.
Rubio.
Yep.
Any discussion? Seeing none, vote. I hope we did that timely.
There we go.
It looks like we all agree to that one.
Mhm.
Okay, next item, please.
Item 6, special presentation. 6.1, proclamation declaring March 2024 as Prescription Drug Abuse Awareness Month, presented to April Rivero, founder and executive director of the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse.
Hi, April. Got some choice words for us before we take your picture?
Well, I do have a proclamation here. If I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, then you can add a lot of value by giving us some more information. So proclamation of the City Council, City of San Ramon declaring March 2024 as Prescription Drug Abuse Awareness Month. Whereas when used as prescribed by a doctor, prescription medicines such as stimulants, sedatives, opioids can be helpful in treating many illnesses. But when these medications are misused, they can have serious consequences. And whereas many prescription drugs can alter a person's thinking and judgment and can lead to health risks, including substance abuse disorder, drug driving, infectious disease, and adverse effects on pregnancy. And whereas anyone who takes prescription opioids can become addicted to them. In fact, as many as 1 in 4 patients receiving long-term opioid therapy in primary care settings struggles with opioid use disorder. And whereas prescription opioid overdose deaths often involve, try it here, benzodiazepines. Benzodiazepines are central nervous system depressants used to sedate, induce sleep, prevent seizures, relieve anxiety. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommends avoiding taking benzodiazepines while taking prescription opioids whenever possible due to the risk of overdose. And whereas in 2022 in Contra Costa County, there were 463,914 opioid prescriptions given to patients, which is an age-adjusted rate of 318 per 1,000 residents, higher than the state rate of 295. And whereas in 2022, a total of 21,316 emergency department visits occurred in California that were related to opioid overdoses, and 348 of those visits occurred in Contra Costa County. And whereas according to the Center for Disease Control, 106,699 drug overdose deaths occurred nationally in 2022. 80,411 were from opioids, and 183 of those opioid-related overdose deaths occurred in Contra Costa County. Whereas synthetic opioids other than methadone, primarily fentanyl, and stimulants such as methamphetamine were the main drivers of drug overdose deaths in the U.S. in 2022. And whereas to help prevent substance abuse disorder and overdose death, the San Ramon City Council encourages community members to dispose of their expired and unwanted prescription drugs throughout the year and safely store those still needed. And whereas the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse encourages all community members in San Ramon to participate in Prescription Drug Abuse Awareness Month activities to raise prescription drug safety awareness. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of San Ramon does hereby declare March 2024 as Prescription Drug Abuse Awareness Month and encourages all community members to pledge "Spread the Word, One Pill Can Kill." Dated March 12th, 2024, signed David E. Hudson, Mayor. So thank you very much for all of your work. For those who are not aware, April is the founder of the National Coalition Against Prescription Drug Abuse. And so if you'd like to say a few words.
I would, thank you.
Always good to see you, April.
Thank you so much. And we have a couple of our youth ambassadors here tonight, as we try to do every year, and they'll add to my comments. So this month was designated as such back in 2013. It was a result of me working directly with, at that time, Senator DeSaulnier, who is now a congressman. So it was a direct result of me having lost my 21-year-old son to an accidental overdose back in 2009, December 18th, so at the end of that year, and feeling a really strong need to get the word out in whatever way we could. I was already speaking in schools and doing what I could to make a difference, but in working with Senator DeSaulnier on some legislation that was really important, we came upon this as an idea to help further the cause and get the information out that much more. So anyway, thank you so much. You are the first city that I ever presented this to or asked for a resolution from. Of course, we live here in San Ramon. My family, this is where my son went to school from 3rd grade on. He graduated from Cal High, went off to Arizona State where he lost his life. So it makes a big difference to me to make a difference right here in my own hometown. I also established the Contra Costa County Meds Coalition back in 2012 to try to focus on just this county. Thankfully, we finally, after 10 years or so, got some county funding to be able to pay for a person to basically take my position as the leader of that coalition. So they're focused really heavily on, of course, Contra Costa County, where I have retained San Ramon Valley as my territory per se, so I can continue working right here. And then I'm doing a lot of work, taking our work over to Alameda County, right next door. So our mission is pure and simple. It's really to save lives from developing a substance use disorder relating to prescription drugs in the first place, but also to reduce the harm at the other end. There are some people, a lot of people that have an opioid use disorder or other substance use disorder that started with prescription meds. And so we are now handing out Narcan, an overdose rescue medication for opioid overdoses. The reality is most of them are opioid related these days. It's not so much, although the problem is still there. For prescription drugs, we now have a rising problem, and the primary cause of overdose death is actually fentanyl. Excuse me. So the fentanyl it either comes in powder form or it comes in the form of fake pills, fake prescription pills that commonly get abused. So the prescription drug problem has evolved to be very much a pill problem one way or the other, so that one pill can kill. It applies both to the prescription drugs back then when I formed that as a motto per se, subline to our own NCAPDA, National Coalition Against Prescription Drug name. But then also now it refers to one single pill of fentanyl can kill you too. So anyway, fast forwarding now, we're doing a lot of education around fentanyl as well as the prescription drugs. We're in the high schools. I have, in fact, in April, I'll be over at Monte Vista High. I have for years gone into the high schools, ninth grade health classes, given presentations, done parent ed nights and everything you can imagine, including getting into businesses. We're now providing, and you should have flyers on your desk, we're giving virtual training sessions for overdose rescue. Yes, the other one, Mayor, sorry. So, yeah, the other flyer. So I'm going to leave some in the back for others that might be interested. Every 2 weeks, it's virtual, so easy to do. And then you just come to my home office and pick up your free Narcan kit. For San Ramon, I want you to know that we have an amazing place to live in. However, there is an underbelly of issues, of course, with this kind of thing. So the EMS data reported data since January 2023 to today, we have had 27 suspected overdoses. They survived. One was fatal, and we had 8 people administering naloxone too, which no doubt saved their life too. This was by our EMS department. So I think we all need to have Narcan kits. I really highly encourage all of you council members, mayor, vice mayor, to take advantage of the training. I can come and give you your own personal training as a team if you'd like to, whatever you want to do. I do want to make sure that we have a chance for our youth ambassadors to speak. We've got over 32 young people in our Tri-Valley area working with us from various high schools. The other flyer you have is an invitation to join us on the 20th of March over at the school district office. And that will be where we recognize our students for the capstone projects they just finished up with. And we will be providing overdose rescue training, and you'll get a free Narcan kit. We'll also be at the St. Patrick's Day celebration over in Dublin, the other D word, over in Dublin next weekend. And of course, at the Wind Festival with the booth. So there's lots of ways for you to get the training you need to get a kit. Thank you. So come on up, young people.
Please introduce yourself. We'd like to
Hello,
hear from you.
Council. My name is Shrey. Sorry. Hello, Council. My name is Shrey, and I'm a sophomore at Cal High. I've been with the NCAPDA as a youth ambassador for around 2.5 years now, and I've enjoyed every part of it. Throughout my time as a youth ambassador, I've had the pleasure of working with April at many different conferences, fairs, and schools. And today I am here on behalf of the NCAPDA to just provide some insight on the work we do as youth ambassadors. In my opinion, April and the NCAPDA have made a huge impact on especially awareness just in high schools, especially in the nearby vicinity, including Cal High, where I go to school. The most notable area of progress, in my opinion, has been awareness raised concerning fentanyl and prescription pills in general. I personally can attest to this fact on 2 accounts. Firstly, I have seen many changes amongst most of my friends and family for the better concerning awareness of these dangers. And after my involvement with the NCAPD, their knowledge has only continued to grow. Secondly, throughout recent tabling events that I hold as a part of a club I run at Cal High, I've seen many more people in the school, including staff members and students, being aware of fentanyl, recognizing the problems it causes, and overall being more informed on the issues of prescription drug abuse. With that being said, I cannot urge you enough to continue helping April and the NCAPDA, as we will continue to work until everybody is aware of the issue and we have stopped overdoses. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi. Hi, I'm Sophia Akhtar, and I'm a current junior at Monte Vista High School. And continuing on, I've been in NCA DPA for about like a month now, and I'm grateful to have the opportunity to learn more about fentanyl abuse and prescription drug abuse and how we can spread it throughout our community. And so, especially this month, we should be able to connect the schools, our community, on how to approach this issue for sure.
Thank you, April. So you know you've reached special status when you only need one name. Madonna, Sharon, April.
Let's stand here in front of the lectern.
Your comments, Sridhar, you got that look.
Yep. I want to thank April and everyone from NCAPDA for your advocacy and for your leadership in shedding the light about the dangers of prescription drug abuse, especially you involving our youth. That makes a huge difference. Thanks to Shrey and Sophia for being part of this amazing organization, which is helping to save many lives in our community, not only within community, as you mentioned, it can be throughout the nation. So that once again, thanks, and we look forward to work with you. If you need anything from our side, please let me know. And I'll be looking forward for your training also. I'll be giving a call to you. Thank you.
Thank you, April. Okay,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, April. Always enjoy the presentation each year, and I'm glad we can help advertise the word about this Prescription Drug Abuse Awareness Month. It's very powerful to have the ambassadors here to speak as well, and they do such a great job. And it is really important to be reminded about the growing risk of opioid death, especially among our young people, and not just fentanyl, but heroin or methamphetamine or other prescription opioid medications. The national, state, and local numbers that were read in the proclamation are staggering. I mean, it's just amazing. And it's an issue that, as we heard, is right here happening in San Ramon. Last year, I was pleased to learn that our San Ramon police officers, all the patrol officers carry Narcan in their vehicles. And, I've received the training too. I have Narcan in my vehicles, and it's made a difference with our police officers have actually used it and saved lives. So I think it's an important tool that we should all try to get that training and have it available. So again, thanks for bringing awareness to this issue and really just helping to break down all that stigma that's out there about seeking help and treatment and care. So it's really important to be aware of the dangers of prescription drugs as well as the fake drugs that are out there as well. So thank you again, April, and the ambassadors.
April, I can't, I just have nothing but admiration for you turning such a personal and painful experience to something that is going to save and is saving so many lives. I think it's something that I think as mothers who have experienced loss that way, it's a way of somehow channeling a lot of that suffering and that pain. And so in that spirit, I just want to say, you thank you so much for everything you're doing. I'm actually going to look into that training. I definitely want to do that because you never know. You never know if you might be that bystander who needs to step in and do something. And so if there's any way that we can continue to support you, we appreciate everything you're doing. So absolutely, we're here. And thank you for everything that you're doing.
A special thank you for staying with it. So many times you get something started and then somebody comes in, they're able to take it over, and the person that starts it disappears. So, but it means a lot to stay with it, as you had pointed out to you by the ambassadors tonight. So thank you very much, April. We hope to see you again next year.
Thank you.
Anyone else? What was that? Diazonine, what?
I can read it. I don't know that I can say it without looking at it. So.
Okay, we'll let him off the hook.
Yeah, thank you so much,
Because
April.
he let me off the hook. Thank you,
Yes.
April. Next item, please.
Item 6.2, recognition of the Teen Leadership Program, which was received a statewide California Parks and Recreation Award of Excellence for creating community. Presentation by Becky Adams, Recreation Program Manager, to Andrew Mendez, Recreation Coordinator.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor Hudson, Vice Chair, Vice Mayor Perkins, fellow council members, city staff, and members of the public. It is my great pleasure to be here tonight to present Andrew Mendez, who's a Recreation Coordinator in our Parks and Community Services Department, with the 2023 CPRS, which is the California Parks and Recreation Society's Award of Excellence for our Teen Service and Leadership Program. This award was presented to the Parks and Community Services Department at the CPRS Annual Conference in Palm Springs earlier this month. So the Teen Service and Leadership Program was created in 2022, and it did a couple of things for us. We were experiencing some challenges. So we were experiencing some staffing shortages with our temporary staff, and it was also able to meet a community need for teen government education. We previously done a teen government one-on-one class, and then that was kind of sunsetted. And so we're like, hey, we still have this need. How can we address these two issues at once? And so since the creation of this program 3 years ago, the program has sold out with a wait list every year. And you're like, why can't we increase it? We increase it every year because we understand the importance of it, and we keep increasing it to the maximum that we can. And over the past 3 years, we've been able to have 86 participants in that program, and collectively they have volunteered over 1,100 hours with city programs, with activities, things of that sort. A number of those participants have actually come on to actually work for the city as well in our Parks and Community Services Department. And so Andrew created this program a few years ago, and he has done a phenomenal job actually instructing the class. And so you have that expert level of a full-time staff member who is presenting these topics to the community, to these kids, so that they can learn more about city government. The 9-week program educates participants about municipal government, leadership skills, and the community as a whole. And I'm proud to say that the program has been very fortunate to have some very distinguished guest speakers, including Mayor Hudson, our city manager, as well as our police chief over the years as well. And so, like I'd mentioned before, our Teen Service and Leadership Program is a key feeder system for our Parks and Community Services Department, which results in high-quality applicants who are familiar with our programs, as well as the culture of the community, and ultimately helping to address the staffing challenges and promote employment opportunities through word of mouth of our staff. And so, lastly, Andrew, thank you for a job well done, and continue to make San Ramon a premier recreation department in the state of California.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. I'm so honored to bring this award to City of San Ramon. The program that we've put forth has really helped out a lot of teens in our community. Having teenagers at home of my own, I know that so many times you can have all the education and get great grades, but it's really hard to couple that with experience. As you're trying to apply to colleges, as you're trying to find your first job and build up that resume, those experiences can be hard to find. And this program has really helped so many young people find those experiences and get those opportunities that they may have not had otherwise. So very proud to, again, have this award and to bring it forth to everyone here, and look forward to continuing it into the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Any comments?
Yeah,
Council?
I want to say, yep, go ahead.
oh, just, Andrew, good to see you again. So Saturday, thanks for your help at the Teen Job Fair.
Thank you for volunteering.
Yeah, had fun doing the mock interviews. But congratulations on this award. Sounds like a great program, and look forward to kind of hearing more about it in the future. And just thanks for all you do for the Parks and Community Services, and bringing up our young folks to be a part of that as well. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Sridhar?
Thank you, Andrew, for amazing leadership. Once again, our youth is the foundation of our community. And I do get a chance to talk to many of these teens and youth, especially as a dad of 2 teens. And one teen who's going into SRV USD. I get to talk a lot with all these other kids about the community services, the volunteer services, how government works, the importance of them to be part of this so that they can build the nation that they want. Especially nowadays, teens talk a lot about government, what's happening, thanks to what is happening in the nation, right? So it's amazing that you are providing a platform for them to learn and understand and creating our future leaders. Hopefully they are the one who is going to take care of our nation in the future. So thanks on the bigger picture, whatever you do for the community. We appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Further
you for
comments?
Yeah.
helping
ahead,
out with
Scott.
I'm sorry, a world-class parks department. We do things that nobody else does, and we do it in a way that nobody else does. And thank you for being part of that.
Yes.
And so, Andrew, thank you so much. Obviously, all of you are doing, especially here, you're obviously really leading in a very, very effective manner and a positive manner. And honestly, we're fortunate to have so many young people too who are so engaged and interested. But it's thanks to people like yourself who do such a great job at outreach and making sure to bring them in. And while to them, the world is large. And so when they get these opportunities to really be so proximal, as was mentioned earlier, to leaders in our community, it's something that stays imprinted in their memory and really leads them on a very a trajectory, a very positive trajectory that really I think lifts them on another level of excellence and reaching for their goals and their dreams in their lives. So thank you for being a part of that and leading them in that direction. Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any cards if anybody wanted to speak to this? Okay, because we normally do the public comment, Andrew. Just can't thank you enough. Stay with it. Just like April, you come back every year. We'll be looking forward to it. You're down to one name. That's everybody knows who we're talking about. Again, thank you, Becky, Andrew. Okay, next item, please.
Item 7, deferred consent items, we have none. Item 8, unfinished business, there is also none this evening. Item 9, new business. 9.1, discussion of South County Family Justice Center, discussion led by Contra Costa County Supervisor Candace Anderson.
Another one named Star.
Yeah.
Hi, Candace.
Well, good evening, council. It is always a pleasure to be here in your chambers addressing you. And tonight we're talking about family justice centers. And this is something that I first became aware of just about 10 years ago when the Contra Costa community came together in Concord to form the Central County Family Justice Center. Chief Guy Swanger, who was the police chief of Concord at the time, had come up with San Diego, had this great model, and I was invited to come to some of the meetings. And one of the exercises they had is they had two women, and they said, imagine that you are kicked out of your apartment, you're locked out, you have no access to funds, you have no access to any means to really survive. How long would it take you to access those services? And so they went out. It took almost 2 days to get a restraining order, to sign up for benefits, to get the help they need just to be barely stabilized. And with that Family Justice Center, it's a very unique model, and Natalie Elias is going to be telling you more about it. What it really came to being is it's a place, it's a nonprofit, but where many, many other agencies, nonprofits come together. And so from the county's perspective, at our Family Justice Center, we have people from the district attorney's office. There are, of course, police, the local police who are there. We have the nonprofits who are offering counseling, who come in and assist with all of these different things and really make a difference. And as I watched Concord get their Family Justice Center, and then out in East County and Antioch, Family Justice Center opened out there, I continue to say to Susan Kim, who is executive director of the Family Justice Centers, we need one in South County. We have very unique needs that are different from others. Several years ago, I met a wonderful woman who was originally from China. She was brilliant, a lawyer educated in Europe, married an American, and he and his mother took advantage of her and told her, in America, this is how we do things, and you will give us your money. And when she had a son, he was endangered by some of the activities of the husband. And I said, you need to go up to our Family Justice Center. You need to understand what your rights are, what you need to really be successful. And fortunately, she's doing much, much better at this point. So this upcoming year, this starting in January, I reached out to Susan and I said, we really need to talk about this some more. How could we get a Family Justice Center in South County? And she was very excited. She said her board of the Family Justice Center thinks this could be the year. And I said, well, let's start by talking to San Ramon and Danville. We sat down with your city manager, with your police chief, with Chief, Chief Carlson, and we just said, what would it look like? And they immediately had this brilliant idea of, hey, we think because we're not going to start in a grand, huge way, there may be some space available in the police department to really start this growing. And it would be staffed by representatives of the Family Justice Center. It would also be staffed by, I am finally, as the county supervisor of this end, getting a navigator being someone who will help people in need access the resources they need. And so I've been talking to our Employment and Human Services Department the last year of, well, where would I house this navigator? How would this work? This would be the first time we would actually have such a resource in our end of the county where someone could come in and say, I need to figure out how to sign up for CalFresh. I need to find out how to sign up for Medi-Cal. I'm suddenly without means. So that's one thing that we would have there. We would have the ability to tap into more senior services to really address the adult protective service issues that come up in our senior community, people who are being taken advantage of. And the other thing we have is we have a really unique, diverse population here. And as I've met with Narika, as I've met with other organizations who are really helping our Southeast Asian community as they face interpersonal violence, there's a unique need that is not being served by any other organization or any other Family Justice Center on the level I think it should be in our community. And certainly they are working with our Family Justice Center in Concord, but I see this as a really unique time where we really could utilize such a center in our community. And again, starting small but bringing in all the community representatives. And so as we look at the potential site that you have in the city of San Ramon, I know there would certainly be some costs associated with moving things around logistically. And there's certainly some startup costs that would include, a whole separate internet, telecommunication system, computers, all of that. I am hoping to get some Measure X money to get this off the ground. My goal is to get $1.5 million to really help fund the center for the first 3 years. I have not brought this up before my fellow board members, but it's something that I think is realistic because we do right now have 29 million in one-time money that we potentially can allocate. And so that's something that I am going to be requesting moving forward to offset those expenses. I think if the city is able to make this site available, and that would be your contribution, needless to say, in a huge one, in a very big way. And so I'm hopeful that as you consider that, it would be something you'd be willing to do. And I'm also meeting with the Danville Town Council. They don't have the same resources you do, and they certainly don't have the amazing center that you've just created for your police and fire like you do there. They're excited about it, and I'm hoping that they will be full partners, but they would not be providing space. They just don't have space, and I've already had that conversation with Joe Calabrigo, and there's a strong desire with the work that you are already doing here in San Ramon. It makes a lot of sense to have it here in San Ramon as well. So that's where I'm going. I'm going to invite Natalie up to tell you a little bit more about the Family Justice Center model and how it's working in other parts of the county. Each one is very unique in the ways in which cities have either participated, offset expenses, provided space. Richmond, for example, the county had an old building that they were able to just turn over for $1, and that was the contribution there. And so, Natalie, why don't you come up, share a little bit of it? Unfortunately, Susan Kim was not able to be here tonight, but Natalie knows everything. She knows exactly what she's talking about, and she does an amazing job. So here is Natalie, and then I'll come back up and answer questions, or I think your city manager probably could give a lot more detail about sort of what he's envisioning of how this might work for us to move forward in your city.
Well, let me ask a question that maybe Natalie can answer it while she's speaking.
Oh, yes.
What are we talking about? Something 24 hours a day, walk in or make appointment to come in like we do passport here?
It would be a walk, and Natalie can address it. It's walk-in, but it's more regular business hours, simply because you do have it staffed with, I think, a minimum of 3 staff members at any given time. And then you're bringing in, they have over 70 different partner agencies and organizations that are coming in and provided needed services. And it might be, for example, my husband, Phil, at one point was going in and doing pro bono, doing restraining orders to help people who were under threats of violence. You have those coming in, but then you also do have the district attorney, you have the community violence solutions. You have a lot of the organizations that are supporting men and women, and the reality is it's more often women who are the victims of interpersonal violence. But this has the opportunity to be much more than even that. It's an opportunity for anyone in need to come in and really figure out, where do we get these resources? How do we sign up? So thank you, Natalie.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Thank you, Supervisor.
I
Hello,
figured
good
if I got it
evening.
out, it could be answered sooner or later.
So as Supervisor Anderson said, my name is Natalie Olias. I work with the Family Justice Center. I'm the center director for our Concord location, or what we call our Central County Center. And I want to tell you a little bit about what the Family Justice Center is and why we want to bring it here to San Ramon and to South County. So we use this term interpersonal violence. So we work with survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, child abuse, elder abuse, and human trafficking. And currently in Contra Costa County, we have 3 locations. One is in Richmond, and one is in Concord, and then one is in Antioch. Now, all of you are very aware of how long it takes to drive from San Ramon over to Concord. And realistically, we just know that folks in South County are not making that drive to get to these resources. And so we are extremely lucky in that this conversation is starting and that we're able to start thinking about, we got to get these resources to the people then. So how a Family Justice Center is created, at its core, it is not just about our staff. Like Supervisor Anderson said, it is really about the partner agencies that are there providing the resources. And so currently we have 57 community partners. We have 9 law enforcement agencies, and then we have 9 public agencies like Children and Family Services, Adult Protective Services, EHSD. And these partnerships allow us to provide a significantly more resources for the clients that are coming into our center. We provide crisis support. If an incident happens over the weekend, the police department might tell somebody, hey, you need to go to the Family Justice Center on Monday. They'll do that. But we also try and stick with clients long-term and try and make sure that they have self-sufficiency so that they can succeed in whatever their vision of success looks like. So as Supervisor Anderson was saying, this is the model that was in Contra Costa County prior to Family Justice Centers being here. So imagine you're a victim of some type of family violence. You have to go to the courthouse to get some support in a restraining order. That's in Martinez. And then at Martinez, the wonderful clerk up front says, you should really go to a support group for domestic violence survivors. That's not in Martinez, that's in Concord. So then you have to drive to Concord, and you see where I'm going with this. If somebody's experiencing trauma and is in crisis, how likely do you think it is they're going to go to those places, that they're going to make those phone calls? They're not. And so that was the reason why Contra Costa County really wanted to implement a Family Justice Center, because it becomes this model. All of the resources are in one building, they're in one location, or in Contra Costa County, there are 3. But you have access to all of those service providers there. So we have EHSD representatives, we have domestic violence and rape crisis advocates that are on site that can meet with people immediately. As you were asking earlier, we're open 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, completely walk-in. We also do over the phone if that's more comfortable for folks. And, a lot of our partners have like 24-hour crisis hotlines that they can also call if they need to, if it's over a weekend or something like that. So I want to talk a little bit just about the clients that we've served since opening our 2 centers in Richmond and Concord. So as you can see, since 2015, we've grown significantly. We've hit just about 5,000 clients for 2023. We anticipate with the potential opening of a South County center, this would increase significantly. And we know that there is a great need in South County because unlike most of the population, some of the population does drive up to Concord to get some help. And so we do have folks that are coming from San Ramon, from Danville, who are needing the services that we're able to provide. We know that 37% of San Ramon residents were born outside of the United States. We know that almost half of them speak other languages outside of English in their own home. And we also know that family violence doesn't just impact specific communities. It impacts all types of households. And so affluent communities, elder communities experience family violence too. And so we want to make sure that they're getting the resources that they need. So what does that look like? That looks like a South County Center coming to South to be able to provide those resources for the survivors, getting them the support that they need in conjunction with partner agencies like NARCA, that's already a huge presence within San Ramon, senior legal services for the elder community that's needing some resources, whether it's for elder abuse or for wills or anything like that. So I thank you so much for your time, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Any questions? We open it up to the public?
Yeah,
Go ahead, Scott.
So in your early vision, the first year or so, how many people would be on site at the South County Center?
Great question. So what we would want to do is we'd want to start out with 3 staff. So it would be 2 what we call navigators who sort of bring the clients in, figure out what the situation is and get them connected to resources. And then we'd have 1 what we call project assistant, or the person that sits up front trying to take calls, things like that. For the first pilot, I would also be coming down to make sure that everything's going smoothly, at least a few days a week, just to have that presence and uniformity throughout all the centers. And then the main thing, as I mentioned, we want to bring partner agencies in at least a few days a week to actually physically have them sitting in San Ramon or in South County somewhere so that they can be providing direct one-on-one services for the clients that we're going to see.
So you could have 5 or 6 people on site on any given day in your first year?
Yeah.
In the longer term, what would you envision as the fully operational, full service version
Well, so that's a great question. And actually, I can give an example because the 3 centers that we have now, we have 3 navigators at each center. We have a project assistant. We have a center director. So there's usually about at least 5 core staff. And then we have several partners that are on site as well. So I would imagine at some point it would get to that size. Yeah, around 5 or 6, I would say.
Thank you. And the regular business hours of whatever the host facility is the business hours you would be using?
We, well, all of our centers adhere to Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. However, we do offer a lot of evening classes that we do in conjunction with partner agencies that we work with. So there's usually something going on in the evening as well. But we wouldn't be providing crisis support services at those times.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Natalie. Thank you, Supervisor Anderson. I guess my thoughts come to, costs. Okay, as I've heard, it sounds, what you said, it sounds like there might be space over in the police department building. So probably maybe our inspectors or city inspectors might move out or over to here, City Hall or something like that. We'd have to shift some things around to make the room to do that. For your other 3 locations that you've got, what are some of the basic agreements that you have in terms of, kind of either cost sharing or costs? And I'm thinking about basic things like electricity or heating, cooling, janitorial services, trash collection, maintenance, and things like that. Are there sort of long-term costs? Is the city going to incur these, or does the county kind of step up, and, where does the Measure X money go and how far does it go?
Well, and that's a really good question, because the Family Justice Center is a nonprofit. And so it's not a county department. And so each Family Justice Center has sort of their own model in which, for example, the Richmond site, they were given the building by the county and some funding to rehabilitate it, make it functional. And then the Family Justice Center is maintaining that full cost. In Concord, City of Concord has helped subsidize the rent for some time. And so they help pay for the rent down in Todos Santos Plaza. And so that's been their contribution. And then out in East County, I think right now they only got one of the cities it has been helping with that. And so my goal with Measure X, and I've had this conversation with your city manager, is I'm seeing this one-time money really getting the first 3 years of operation in. And in talking to Susan Kim, that would help cover her staff, but that would also help cover the setup costs. And so I've asked Steve to say, if in fact you're going to make this space available, there will be some costs in moving, relocating, potentially reconfiguring space in this building. I'd want to know what that is so that we could fold that into the budget for the first year. And certainly we're very amenable, open to ongoing expenses, whether it be utilities or, janitorial service. I think that's something the Family Justice Center is out there fundraising. They have some amazing fundraisers. Susan has been phenomenal in getting state grants, federal grants, because interpersonal violence is so critical to our society to address it. And so my goal really would be that you're not out of pocket any more than providing us with this space, which is a huge, generous, amazing thing to allow us. There may be a point where we outgrow it. And I've already had some conversations with Alex Marin, unofficially, just sort of on the side saying, hey, what about as you're planning the bigger city center, or as you have space available, would it make sense to relocate there? This location, though, is so unique because of its proximity to the police department, which plays an integral part in protecting those and in helping those who are victims of interpersonal violence. When this was offered as a potential location, depending upon buy-in from obviously the city council, it really was just something that made so much sense on many levels. And the site in Richmond is also adjacent to the police department as well. Concord's not, and neither is the site in Antioch, but I think there's great wisdom in having it there. And so really our next steps, should you agree to this, is to work on a budget with the city of of what that would look like, what funding I would need to secure. And then having, we're looking at potentially in April, having a meeting with the town of Danville, with this city of San Ramon, and then with our community partners who already are great partners of our family justice centers, and particularly those in South County that are already working on these very same issues that will want to be embedded there, will want to have the opportunity to assist these clients. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you very much. No, I appreciate that. And it really sounds like there's a lot of benefits here. That makes a lot of good sense to have this, especially here in South County. And we certainly have a need for it. So look forward to whatever those discussions are in the future with the city manager and seeing if we might be able to help support that.
Okay, any other question? Go ahead, Shraddha.
Okay. Thanks, Supervisor Anderson.
too, man.
Thanks, Natalia. For me, Narika Shailaja Dikshit is go-to person anytime we can get our community issues.
She's
right?
amazing. Yeah, the
And
whole group is just,
It's an amazing group, and I'm very glad that you're working with them. I have one question regarding one of the twists, especially with immigration families, right? So that's where the twist is between a regular like citizen or a immigrant, right? Do you have any support providing in that area?
Yeah, yes, we do. So we have a legal program. We're able to offer legal support for survivors, either both in family law and or immigration. Usually it's both when you're looking at immigrant communities that they're needing a divorce and they're needing to figure out their immigration status. And so that's something that we would be able to bring. We already have that all set up at all three of our centers. So we would be able to bring that to the South County Center. I think that's the biggest one. I think the other thing too is that a lot of survivors don't always know what resources that are available that they can actually apply for. And so I think that's the beauty of having the EHSD navigator stationed there, is that that person is able to get somebody signed up with CalFresh, Medi-Cal, CalWorks, any of those public benefits that they might qualify for as a victim of some type of violence.
Great. And one more question is about housing. I attended Narika's gala, opportunity to attend. It was fantastic fundraising.
Yeah.
So do you also have some process or procedure so that folks can get housing?
Yeah, we do. So unfortunately, we don't have houses that we can offer to people. I know housing is a big issue in Contra Costa County and the Bay Area in general, but we do have housing programs. We're able to try and support individuals financially so that they can either help pay their rent to stay where they are, or if they do need to move, they can help with like deposit assistance. The funding's a little bit flexible, so we're able to also pay for like utility bills, childcare bills, anything that's going to help sort of stabilize, especially if the person in their family that's causing harm is in jail. They're obviously not making any income. And so the income of the family as a whole goes down pretty significantly. And then all of a sudden you're going, how am I going to pay rent for next month? So we do have programs that are able to assist with that. And then we also work with partners that try and find longer term supportive solutions for clients.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thank you very much for
Thank you.
your great work for the most vulnerable people when they need the support.
Thank you.
To jump in there while you can.
So first and foremost, thank you to both of you for coming and bringing this issue forward. It's extremely important. I can tell you, as my mother and myself being survivors of domestic violence, everything you've touched on, I can personally relate to. One of the things that I am curious about, so please excuse me if I ask kind of all these random questions because my brain is firing away here. One of the things I want to know is, so for example, do you have something to deal with? I know it's mentioned, but people with disabilities. This is a very difficult group because oftentimes it's difficult for them to self-advocate, to reach out to you. So what do you do in those circumstances?
So that's a great question. It kind of depends on the disability. So we partner with several organizations that work with individuals who have disabilities. So that includes Deaf Hope. So they're able to provide supportive services for domestic violence survivors that are deaf. We also work with Independent Living Resources, and they work with disabled communities that are able to get like longer term housing and that sort of thing for them.
So what if they have cognitive disabilities?
We have a couple partners that we also work with, particularly for those that have children with cognitive issues, cognitive disabilities. We're able to connect them and kind of route them and get them supportive services through the regional center and making sure that they have IEPs set up.
So basically, it seems like the real connection maybe for some of these more vulnerable, if they have like maybe emotional or cognitive or expressive type of language barriers, the school becomes a really key partner, especially if they're under 18 and have an IEP. It's really, I know it's really hard.
Yeah.
How do we reach that community, connect that, I mean, once you get them in the door, that's one thing. But how do we get them to come to the door? And I think that's where the,
Yeah.
you know, for this community is especially vulnerable. I'd be curious to learn a little more at some point separately. We don't have to go into detail right
Sure.
now, but at some point I'd love to learn how your, the Justice Center is working on that. The other thing is, so you mentioned some things about the distinct character in San Ramon, qualities and needs of the community here in San Ramon. Could you expound on that? And what is this, you mentioned the EHS Navigator system going to do? What measures are taken to make sure that there's cultural competency and sensitivity in dealing with a community?
Well, and that's something too, as we've talked about the Family Justice Center, ensuring that we have multiple languages spoken at the center as well as access to our language line. I mean, and again, when we talk about culturally competent services, it certainly if someone is from one of our Southeastern Asian countries, we're going to want someone who speaks their language, someone who understands their culture, their religious beliefs or practices, so that these services are provided in an appropriate way, similar to what we would hope to be doing with anyone. With regard to the EHSD Navigator, the beauty of that is in a lot of my fellow supervisors districts with their navigator, they're actually having them work more closely with the school district, and they're having referrals coming through the schools, through school officials or teachers to really help families in need. And while that's one model that works well there, when we had the opportunity to consider a Family Justice Center, to me, it made a much more sense to have it embedded in our Family Justice Center, our navigator, and having the school a valuable partner, as they have been in all of our initiatives in this community. When you look around the things we do in the San Ramon Valley, it's typically involves the school district, the fire district, city of San Ramon, town of Danville, the county, all of us working together to really help those in need. And so I see our navigator being there as the one who's able to say, okay, you need housing. Well, let me get our H3, which is our housing program through our health department. Let's get you connected there, and let's get you into temporary housing, and or let's find you, connect you with one of our nonprofits that provides permanent supportive housing. Similarly, if it's a substance use disorder issue, let's get you involved in one of our AOD programs. And so to me, the navigator is going to play a very critical role. Of course, you've already got the Family Justice Center navigators, which are really navigating even better with the community-based organizations. But the EHSD will be the one who will be able to say, this is how I'm going to sign you up, for CalFresh, for Medi-Cal, for the CalWorks, whatever other programs you might be eligible for. And so it's something unique that we have not had to date in this end of the county. Somewhat it's a perception that, hey, South County and Loma Linda, they don't have any problems. Everyone's wealthy, everything's fine. But the reality is I'm sure some of you have heard me say, during the pandemic, we saw our CalFresh applications increase by 80% in District 2. And there are families in need, and our school district will attest to that. And certainly what we have seen in our family justice centers in Central County, there are people coming from here up there. As your police chief, as Danville's police chief will attest, we do have a lot of domestic violence taking place and people not knowing where to go or being embarrassed or feeling like they're alone, they're all alone. Last year, I had several calls to my office of women who were living in fairly comfortable circumstances with children saying, my husband has left, he's closed all my bank accounts, I have no way to pay the rent or the mortgage. I don't know where to go. I have no clue of what I'm supposed to do now. And so that was just another, we need these services in our end of the county. So hopefully, Marisol, that wasn't too long.
No, I love it.
No.
No, this is really, really important. And I think it's important for the community to also hear what you're doing and why this is important. And like you said, you know, oftentimes there's just sort of this assumption, like you said, that because everything looks good on the outside, the facade looks good, that nothing is happening behind those closed doors. And actually, you know, there are, like you said, there's all types of violence. In this case, the one that you mentioned is obviously monetary. There could be control issues with that they
Absolutely.
could keep the person under these circumstances. But also there's societal pressures too, that are all intertwined. The fear of whether they might lose custody of their children and what may happen there. All those things are very terrifying. And so somehow, you know, really creating that access and getting people to feel safe enough to come forward is such a critical step. And I'm glad you're there to respond. The other question I have, so if you are closed outside of business hours, what would a person do under those circumstances?
Well, I'll bet you, I mean, when you call, well, I say you call 911, police
Yeah.
do have resources because there are shelters, there are CBOs, the community-based organizations that are available for 24 hours a day to house someone in an emergency. And that's, but what do you want to say?
No, I'm just going to echo that. We do, and right now we're open Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we know that violence happens on weekends and at 2 a.m. And so we do rely heavily on our partners. Again, the Domestic Violence Crisis Center, the Rape Crisis Center, Community Violence Solutions stand, and also 211, the Crisis Center for Contra Costa County. The good thing is we're partners with all of them.
Yeah.
So if they have a immediate crisis that they're going to try and handle at that moment, then they're going to say, hey, let's meet at the Family Justice Center on Monday so that you can talk to an attorney at the same time.
Yeah.
You can get this supportive service at the same time. I also forgot to mention that all of our services are free.
Yeah.
And that includes mental health counseling.
Great.
And I think that's a really important point because as you were talking about individuals with disabilities or individuals that really have behavioral health needs that they want to try and get support from some of the trauma that they've worked with, we don't bill to insurance. You don't have to have insurance. And I always try and echo that because we don't want cost to be a barrier to get some support.
Agreed. And thank you for that. And so it's good to hear that when you talk about emergency housing, there is available. I'm assuming this, you know, they get directed to where to go under those circumstances. And so, so you mentioned, oh, and by the way, I echo what was said, Narika and Noshelaja. Personally, I've been supporting them in that organization for some time now too. Rewire is also part of that, no?
Yeah, Rewire is.
Yeah,
within the
are you
Santa
working with Rewire as well?
We are. So
Okay, great.
Shyla actually sends one of their advocates to our Concord office a few times a month. And then obviously we're available to connect clients anytime. But we're hoping with the South County Center opening that we're going to have them on site more frequently.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
should Mega Sharma from Rewire.
And I was just curious, so I just wanted to better understand, just 3 more questions, sorry. What are some of the distinct issues in San Ramon? I mean, I'm just curious to understand what you've put together. What are some of the, other than obviously there's the cultural component, language barriers. What are some other distinct things that you may have noticed are acute needs here?
I think we're still trying to figure that out. You know, I think one of the things is in getting a sense of what the needs of San Ramon, Danville, South County's needs are. That's Supervisor Anderson also mentioned that we're going to have sort of this community gathering in April to try and figure out what are the most important needs, because we want to hear from the partners. We want to hear from you all. What are you hearing from your communities? What are you seeing? Where's the gap? Because that's what we're trying to do. We're either trying to figure out how to bring a partner agency that's already doing that and having that service, making that connection happen.
Yeah.
Or if it's not, okay, let's figure out a way to get it going.
Okay, great. And then do we have, I'm sorry, when for Measure X funds, something I know I worked with some time to help push forward before we even got it in place, but I want to know when can we get how long do you think it'll take to get some kind of confirmation that those funds are secured?
I am pushing for our April budget. And so I am working right now with our Employment Human Services Department, and there is something called the Alliance to End Abuse, which is made up Family Justice Center, Community Violence Solutions, STAND, others that works on these issues collaboratively all the time. So they're working with me right now to draft a letter to the Measure X Community Advisory Body, informing them that this is going to be a new request that's coming forward and that we'll be bringing forward as part of EHSD, Employment Human Services budget in April, and that because we are moving on a really fast track, thanks to your, to your city manager and your police chief, this is critical. I mean, we potentially, if I can get that funding, potentially we could be opening this summer a Family Justice Center. And so it's moving so quickly. We're trying not to get ahead of ourselves. And the first thing we needed is I need the buy-in from the city council that this is something you want your city manager to pursue, that you would like to see this house, because otherwise I will go out and I'll work with Alex, or I'll work with Town of Danville and try to find another place for them. But this is my first choice, just because it's such an ideal location, and also your city's being so generous to even consider it. But then it's a community meeting, and in theory we could have had the community meeting first to listen to see what else is needed. We have the data that we get from the police department. We have the data from the district attorney's office. We have the data from the Family Justice Center. We have the data that we get from Adult Protective Services. And then anecdotally, we're aware of various things going on in the community. And the whole, the success you've had here in addressing a very diverse community and bringing the community together is really helpful, because it's not something that we see everywhere. And as we've often opened up our own county office of racial equity and social justice, we're going to get them involved in this as well, because it's important. We may well see that some of the issues that come forward in the Family Justice Center may have something more to do with violence based upon someone's race or ethnicity or religious background, things that we're going to want to have addressed. And that will help us figure out which partners are really going to need to be in there. And I think we see this as a very open, inclusive center. And that's where, once we sort of firm the location, that's why we want to move this April meeting forward to bring in all the community partners. If there are any, Jill Ray on my staff, who I'm sorry I have not introduced, who's here, she's compiling the list of invitees of who should be there. A lot of it's based on just the people we interact with. And we have the great mental health coalition that meets quarterly, led by Kathy Shiverton, and Discovery Counseling Center, and we've got all of those partners. There's a lot going on in this valley, and we want to make sure that with this Family Justice Center, essentially you're offering up a space for the whole community to come and take care of one another, to provide that opportunity.
Great, great. And this is more to the city manager. Are we going to get a staff report on this? Because we don't have one.
So tonight, I'm looking for the 3 nodding heads at least to proceed to
We'll wait and see if there's public comment first, but I think you're going to get the nodding.
Exactly. And then what we'll do is we need to discuss the details, possibly get a quote for what the cost of the move and reconfiguration at City Hall would be. And then once we have more detailed information and it seems like everything could work out, we would bring it back as a report either individually on its own to the council, or we can even wrap it up in the budget process for next year. We still need to, there's some logistics that we need to plan.
Okay, thank you for everything you're doing and thank you for that great presentation and for answering these really deep, I'm sorry, I had to ask those detailed questions. I really am curious. And I also think it's really helpful for our community to hear that. So thank you.
Okay, we'll probably give you the nodding heads as soon as, check with the public comment. Is there any cards?
Not for this item.
Okay, what about public comment? We have one person who wants to speak. Two? Oh, what's his name? Okay, jump up here, Gary.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council and city staff. I am just overwhelmed with what I just heard. I have a daughter who was a victim, and I wish she had known where to go. It was a long process. And I thumbs up for this. I don't know how you can say no to something that's going to serve the public. That's what we're here for, right? That's where my heart has always been. You know how that is. I want to volunteer. So please, whatever you do.
We
nod
know where
your
to
head,
find him,
please.
don't worry. He can't get away.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
I have no other card.
Okay, did you want to speak? Come on up and please give her your name for the record.
Hi, yes, I'm here, just here as a resident of San Ramon Valley, and I just want to encourage all of you to consider this favorably and to find a space in this area so that people can get the services that they need. I really am impressed by the time and effort and that our supervisor has put together and supporting this. I know that this is an effort that's been ongoing for several years, and I hope that it comes to more fruition from your vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll close the public comment that matters before us. I want to be the first nodding head. I think this is something we want to get involved with. Yeah,
I agree.
I agree.
I think you have 3 already.
Yeah.
I'm sure you got 5.
Okay.
Hey, just flick the bobblehead and let me know. Yeah.
Okay, so as soon as we can get involved, he'll be probably dealing directly with you. He's going to have to bring it to us as staff, but
I looking forward to working with you. I want to thank each of you for this. I've already talked to your city manager about if we had the 5 nodding heads to pull those numbers together, because I'm fast tracking this because I really want to get it into the county's budget. I want to
think we
get
do
some
too.
money, to get this open, to serve the community.
Yeah.
And I just truly, truly appreciate your support.
we don't want it sneaking away to the Calabrigo room.
Well, that's it. 3rd floor is available in the town offices.
I
Not,
got one up here you can have.
yeah, so anyway, thank you. And it's going to be a wonderful partnership. And I will be meeting with the Danville Town Council to bring them on also as partners. And hopefully then as we do training meetings, as we do community meetings, if they're partners, they will have the Danville facilities also available. And I'm assuming they're going to be very favorably inclined to.
And I
move
think you
forward.
and I probably need to talk to Ruby and Bill about making sure there's a stop there for the bus, just in case some people want to use it.
Absolutely. Don't you have a bus stop going to the police station, just County Connection, go up Crow? We'll have to
Yes.
talk about that. Okay. Well, we'll figure that out because that is one of the critical, transportation to a family justice center is so important as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank you.
all.
Thank you very much for your leadership.
So what you
Thank
got
you.
is the official nodding head saying proceed.
Okay.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for coming out tonight, ladies. Next item, please.
Item 10, city manager and city council members' comments and matters initiated.
All right. With city manager, this is our favorite part of the night, except for when April's here. She upstages you.
Yeah, well, thank you. Just a couple quick updates for this evening. As you may have heard, the president did sign a government funding bill last week, and part of that government funding bill included our community funding request of $2 million for our intelligent transportation system and citywide communication project. Thank you to Congressmember DeSaulnier for submitting that request. We will receive a timeframe for receiving the money, and that money will go towards installing fiber optic network throughout the city to connect our traffic signal cameras, our situational cameras, and our license plate readers. So it'll be a more reliable connection and faster speeds. And then also the other update, you will be hearing from me from now until probably the summer about our community survey. So we do have these community survey cards at all of our counters in the city. We also sent out an update to every resident. Look for the big oak tree. Should have received it by now. Inside is information about essential city services, and there is an online survey about what services are important to the residents. Every year, we are challenged with developing our budget, and this year is by no means an exception to that challenge. And this information will be very helpful in making some decisions, some tough choices about the budget. So I encourage anybody to.
Response yet?
I don't know the direct online results, but I do know that in one of our offices, we have a stack of cards about yay high. So we're getting a lot of card responses back, but I will check in on the online as well. So yes, we are getting a lot of feedback.
If you could provide us periodic feedback on, and is there a more or less a deadline on when you're going to kind of close the door on getting those?
You know, at first it was, you know, towards the end of April, but we might extend that as well. And this could be something that we continue on, you know, throughout the years to come, is just keeping an ongoing survey.
Okay.
But at any point, we'll have that snapshot in time
Okay.
to pull data from.
If you could get us some, if not the results, at least what the participation level is.
Yes, yeah, we're currently figuring out how to manually tabulate all the cards.
Oh,
So,
fun.
yeah, it's different comments and different scorings, and you know, we left it a little bit open. So
How many
we'll-
from the council?
I don't know. You tell me, Mayor.
Throw them out.
Yeah,
I only sent in 12, so.
exactly. All right. Thank you. That's it.
Okay. Marisol, you want to go first, or let's
Let
read our,
Marisol go first. We've been pushing her to the end of the line all night long.
okay.
I don't mind. I'm fine. Either way, we all have to take turns. So, sure. Monday, February 26th, I attended an event that was held by Fem Truth Youth. It was an event at Gianni's Restaurant here in San Ramon. They are an organization that works to they donate sustainable start kits to address period poverty in the Bay Area through partnerships with the domestic violence and traffic teen shelters. And they are student centers, so they create education programs through the arts and workshops to raise awareness about health, wellness, sustainability, and financial literacy. Then on February 28th, I went to the State of the City. Our mayor and all of our council members obviously were there, gave us a wonderful address and update of the city and all of the wonderful accomplishments, that thanks to our staff as well, who works, and our city manager and attorney, who do a lot of work behind the scenes, and city clerks. I got to give everybody credit in this room, and Denton in the back, Chief Denton. And then also on the 28th, we had a busy day on the 28th. We had the policy committee meeting and talked about transitioning businesses in San Ramon off chlorofluorocarbon process packaging, also known as polyester packaging, and trying to get them, obviously, because that is very harmful long-term to our environment. And we sort of decided on trying to find out, really zero in on what would be the ideal time to give to the businesses to make that transition. And then that same evening, we went to the Tri-Valley Cities event. And then let's see, Thursday, I'm going to speed up. Thursday, 2/29, we also went to the Cal Cities East Bay Division event that had, where we got legislative updates from some of our legislators, and they're, you know, in terms of getting a sense of what they're working on over there. It's not necessarily our local legislators, but they were other people there. So then we went also on Thursday, I was also at the February 7th at the Contra Costa Mayor's Conference. which we discussed also some legislative updates from Rebecca Barr-Kahan, and some of the bills that they're working on and bringing forward for the year were presented. And that's about it. Oh, wait, one. Oh, no, forget it. I'll stop there. Thank you.
We'll go Mark and then Sridhar.
All right, well, I was at most of the things you just mentioned there. One of the other meetings I attended was a senior advisory committee meeting. We recognized Catherine Washburn. She is one of our San Ramon residents since 2022. She's been active at the senior center, and they recognize her for being 102 years old. And her daughter Maria is also a volunteer over at the senior center and helps out with the senior foundation too. But Maria read a summary of her mom's life since 1922. It was really impressive. But and then she left that meeting and because she was going to go meet with her younger sister, who is 101 years old. So I don't know how many people can say that.
There.
We also got an update from Kevin Donovan from Contra Costa County Area Council on Aging. They're doing an update for a Contra Costa County local plan for aging. They're creating a master plan. This is about housing and health and caregiving, affordability and accessibility for our seniors. A couple of interesting facts that were said there. One is that by 2030, nearly 24% of Contra Costa County will be age 65 or older, which was an amazing number to me. That's a 75% increase since 2016. And that another fact was that there are around 19,500 individuals 62 years or older on waiting lists for affordable housing in the county. And these are seniors that are living that are having to pay 60% of their income just for housing. Let's see, on the 9th of March, so this past Saturday, I went on the Open Space Advisory Committee sponsored hike. It was on the Rolling Hills Loop Trail. Beautiful day. It was a great turnout. It was led by Sally Scholl from the Open Space Advisory Committee. We started off at the Doherty Station Community Arts Center, kind of walked through the nearby hills, past Camp Parks, over by the San Ramon Sports Park, and then over up the hill towards the water tanks that are over in the Windermere area, and then back to the Community and Arts Center. It was a great hike. And then following that, I went, as mentioned before, I went to the Tri-Valley Teen Job Fair over at the Senior Center, helped out with the mock interviews there, but teens were also able to get help with resume writing and learned how to sell their skills to different employers. There, some employers were there to include, a table from our Parks and Community Services the department, and Andrew, who we met tonight, was there helping to man that table, and hopefully we got some future employees to help out with some of our summer programs. Let's see. And then yesterday was the Senior Foundation meeting. Main item was they talked about the 2024-2025 budget proposal. They do so much to support our senior center. So they kind of went through the numbers on that. And then last, I just kind of want to acknowledge Women's History Month. And as I was thinking about this, I thought about my wife. We were leaving one of our assignments, and my wife was presented with an award, and I got it kind of right here for volunteer service. But it was the Mary E. Walker Award. And let me tell you a little bit about Mary E. Walker. She was the only woman to receive the Medal of Honor. She had entered Syracuse Medical College in 1855, and only the second woman ever to finish med school, and that was in 1858. In 1861, she was a volunteer surgeon with the Union Army, so she was unpaid. It was volunteer work, and that's because she was not allowed to serve as a female medical officer. So she later became a contract U.S. Army female surgeon. She was captured in 1864 by the Confederate Army and spent 4 months as a prisoner of war. And then in 1865, President Andrew Johnson presented her with the Medal of Honor. However, since she was never commissioned as a military officer, it was rescinded in 1917, 2 years before she died. But 60 years later, so 1977, President Jimmy Carter basically restored her Medal of Honor. And so again, of the nearly 3,500 Medal of Honor recipients, she is the only woman recipient. And I did a lot of training at a place called Fort A.P. Hill in Virginia. They just renamed Fort A.P. Hill Fort Walker. So it is the only Army installation named solely after a female. So that's kind of my 2 bits on that's, now you know the rest of the story on Mary Walker.
Interesting history.
Yeah, that's it.
I spent some time at AP Hill myself.
Should I top that?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Council Member, for sharing such an amazing story. Especially, it is definitely very special because it is International Women's Month or Women's Day, right? That's going on. So thanks for sharing that. Sure. So for my updates, pretty much all the council members have the same thing, I think. On February 28th, attended State of City Address. Once again, thanks to Mayor for sharing our city accomplishments. I echo Council Member Rubio's thanks to everyone, thanks to city staff, thanks to all community volunteer services, organizations, volunteer organizations, and council members for all the exceptional accomplishments coming out of the COVID. It's a great work. And then on February 28th evening, attended TVCC dinner meeting. That's more about our Tri Valley City Council. So, and then on February 29th, attended Cal City's East Bay Division Legislative Dinner. As part of the event, they had a featured program, a conversation with our state legislator, Assembly Member Laurie Wilson, as well as Assembly Member Tim Grayson. They had provided updates about some of our latest bills, especially coming up in House around affordable housing, transportation, also about our state budget deficit issues that we are facing. And there's a lot of good information we could able to get from these conversations. Also, they allowed us to do some Q&A. So thanks to East Bay Division for having that event. So those are the 3 events. Thank you.
Scott. Okay. I attended the East Bay Regional Communication System Authority board meeting. That's our radio system for the 2 counties and all the first responders in the 2 counties. And we had a closed session followed by open session. And we have selected Chief David Swing, who is currently the police chief of Pleasanton, to be our new executive director. So he will be coming on board April 15th. So he's got a little over a month left at Pleasanton. So that was the big issue. The other one is the law firm of Myers Nave is getting out of the public municipal law business, and the members of the law firm that performed that in the past have formed a new organization called Redwood Public Law. And so eBricks and TVTC have hired Redwood Public Law to be their contract attorneys going forward. So it'll be the same people we would have had with Myers Nave, but Myers Nave has, for whatever reason, has decided to get out of the municipal government law business. So those dozen or so members that have now formed Redwood Public Law, headquartered in Oakland. SWAT meeting, Southwest Area Transportation. The main agenda items there was a presentation by Bart, Government Community Relations Representative, on a program called BART Safe and Clean. They recognize that their passengers need to feel safe, and they need their trains and stations to be clean. And in the absence of that, the ridership will continue to deteriorate. The second presentation was given by Executive Director Tim Hale of the CCTA, and it was the People-Centered Mobility Program and where that's going over the next dozen or more years. It's obvious from state law and funding sources that building more lanes is going to be prohibitive in terms of the cost, because every time you build more lane, you create more opportunity for vehicles miles traveled, right,
Yep.
David?
Yes, indeed.
And you have to mitigate that back down to zero. So if you build a lane that generates 100,000 vehicle miles traveled, you have to then have a program in place that mitigates that through public transportation and other kinds of programs like that. So he talked a lot about where we're going with programs and how we're going to mitigate those things. Went to the Library Foundation meeting on Monday night, and our city manager gave a presentation on our city finances, and then they had their business meeting, and the Library Foundation is doing quite well. Their library book sales have one of the things that really isn't been obvious, but it really has done well. Ever since we remodeled the library, we gave the Library Foundation a book sale area. They've been generating thousands of dollars every year through their book sales, which supports programs at the library. These are children's reading programs, adult programs, all kinds of programs that the Library Foundation supports directly in our libraries. So they're doing a fantastic job. And I'm on the, with LAFCO, we have a meeting tomorrow, and then we are interviewing a new public member, Don Bluebaugh. Remember Don?
Oh, yeah.
Don is retiring from LAFCO, and so we're interviewing 3 applicants for that position. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you.
So I just want to add
Go
one
ahead.
last thing, and I think
One
this one's important.
addendum from Marisol.
Sorry. And first and foremost, yes, happy International Women's Day, which was March 8th, but this is Women's History Month, the whole month of March. And as such, I want to make sure to really give a shout out to our First Lady, Barbara Hudson. She's a real trooper and truly an example, honestly, of many women who do a lot of difficult work and just behind closed doors, they really are like the backbone of our community and doing many incredible things, being super women in many ways, and just making things happen. And, they don't get credit too often. So I'm just want to make sure to do that. Thank you.
I don't go anywhere without her. I would say that, as you heard before, we had the State of the City address. I think it's the first time that I can remember that I stuck to a script, so we didn't have to have dinner there that night. But, it's pretty good condition, very well received. The next day or a couple of days later, we both attended the grand opening for Kung Fu Dragon USA, and very happy to have almost the entire Danville Council show up to give a proclamation. Also, just shows, as Candace Anderson was talking to earlier this evening, that these are 2 communities that are very closely tied together. We do talk to each other, trying to get the best that we can. And I'm looking forward to see where it goes with this latest venture that we stuck you with, city manager. And I'll leave it at, there is a meeting coming up in Sacramento where the Tri-Valley mayors will be going to Sacramento to talk to our legislators again. Looking forward to see Lori Wilson, you talked to earlier. We served together on the Air District. I think she's going to be around a long time in Sacramento. And that's it for me. If no one else has any more addendums, next item.
Item 11, closed session. 11.1, convene to closed session pursuant to Government Code 54957.6. Conference with labor negotiators for the city council to meet with the city negotiators concerning labor negotiations with the Santa Ramon Police Officers Association and unrepresented employees, police chief, police captain, and police lieutenant.
Okay, public comment is open if anybody wishes to speak to this item from the public. If not, we will be back from the meeting in about 15, 20 minutes at the earliest, and we will report out. open session, and city council met with the city's negotiators to discuss labor negotiations with the San Ramon Police Officers Association, along with the department's unrepresented employees, and has nothing to report at this time. This meeting is adjourned.